Hello, friends. It is I, Eterno. I'm back. I'm just gonna stream maybe for like an hour or something. I'm gonna keep it short because I do want to get some sleep. But I just want to show you guys that I've been working on a new plugin within Patcher, and it's coming along. It's coming along. I'm pretty happy with it right now. I wanted to put it to the test, and what better way to put it to the test than to make some techno with it? Let me pop out this chat real quick so I can make sure I see what you guys are saying. All right. Now let me move the tempo to 126. And let's get something going. Let's get something going now. All right. Let's get some drums going. Let's get some drums going. I think I'm gonna use my old method of making music right now instead of the new stuff that I've been doing. There it is. All right. Okay, all right. All right. 126 BPM. Let's get a kick going. I'm gonna go into my pack here. Then I have it's a nice kick right there. Put 4 to the floor on that. Link it to the mixer. Let's get a clap. Yes. Oh, yes. Let's get some hats. Let's do that. right, a pad in there right now. I'm gonna use my new delay plugin maybe to make a pad or to make some kind of a repetitive feedback type of loop thing. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into the I can maybe even use the pads here. Link this over here somewhere. Let's link all these claps and shakers and stuff. Let's create a drum group right away. Let me make sure my stream's rolling. Okay, we're good. We're good. All right. On here, I can add an EQ. I'm gonna add my plugin and see if it'll, because this is kind of more on the low end, but we'll see how it sounds. Yeah, this will work better on other sounds. Not on this one right now. I want to make something more on the darker side. bass going. Sub bass. Fruity DX10. Okay, GMS. Let's find. Actually, I think I'm gonna use Fruity DX10 again. Classic DX10. Go up an octave. Find some good presets here. Check it out. I'm gonna add my plugin. Here's where it's gonna shine. Dimension 333. Then I can do reverse, either on one side or both. I can do frequency shifting. Then if I add another thing that I want to do with this, so let me explain to you guys what this plugin is. I made this in Patcher and this is the backing of it. It looks a little crazy, but basically it splits the signal into two sides, right? The left and the right. So this is like a really wide, like ping pong delay type of thing that I made. And I added a reverse effect to it, so it reverses the delay time, or it reverses the delay feedback. So that's what this does. The reverse knobs reverse the delay. If it's fully on, then it's fully reversed. And then if it's like in between, it mixes between the wet signal of the delay and the reversed delay. And then the frequency shift is shifting the frequency of the delay. And you can choose to either have that off or you can mix it in. And it's very subtle, but it does create that kind of like detuned effect to the delays as well. And then you have like the different time settings. These are all locked into specific times. So when you go up and down, it'll select different timings for the delay. I need to put in like little notes right here showing the different times. That way you kind of know what time delay you're on. And then you have the dry signal, of course. Here you can turn it off. If I turn it off, you're only going to hear the delay. If I turn it up, and then you have the wet signal. So without it, you only have the dry signal of the sound that you're using. And you can turn it up. And then I have the mix, or like the volume of each side of the delay. So you can turn down one side more than the other. So you want to turn the left side down. And that kind of pushes the delay. Like you can choose like the depth of each side, And in order for the reverse to work, since I'm using gross beat in the map here, it has to be like playing. So I have to be playing this in order for the delay to reverse it. Just only for this part. You can turn the feedback. This is the feedback for the right side and the left. that's my plugin. I want to add more things to it. Right now it's very basic, you know. I just wanted to make a delay that felt really wide, and that I could have a little more control over, you know, the volume of each side, and the like maybe detuning it a little bit on each side, and then doing some reverse on each side, depending what side I want, and then the amount of feedback from each side, and then the timing of each side. So um, there's some good delay plugins out there that can do some of this stuff, but not exactly like this. So I was like, I think I'm just gonna have to make it myself. So I started learning kind of how to do it a little bit here in Patcher as far as like all these things go. Um, and I did it. And I did it. So this is my plugin right now. I have it like directly in here. Let me save this preset as what do I call this? I wonder if this saves it under. Oh, it does. Does it save it up here? Awesome, it doesn't. It only saves it in here. That's great. That's great. Trippy dots. And then again, without it, I need to add like a bypass button. That way I can just, you know, compare it on and off. I mean, you can just click it right here and it'll turn it off. But it'd be nice to just have one right here in the plugin itself. So I need to add a bypass button, and I need to add what do you call it? I want to add a reverb to it as well, like in here somewhere. You know, I wanna maybe expand on it. Right now, it's very minimal. Yeah, yeah, for sure. This one will just it's just to A/B it also. But it'd be nice to just have a button as well. But I want to add some reverb in there, like as well. Like somewhere in this patch. So I can add reverb to it, and then I want to do more like granular stuff too. Um, I don't know. There's just so many. There's so many options. There's so many things that you can do with Patcher. It's crazy. Like you can literally create whatever you want. Like once you learn all these things, it's not that difficult to learn. Honestly, it's pretty simple. Um, Sometimes it can get complicated if you want to do certain things, and you're like, "Fuck, how do I how do I even start?" You know. But once you get the flow of it, it's really easy to make these. And I think what takes the most time, honestly, is the design. Like trying to, you know, do all these little things to design it and make it look nice. Um, but yeah, but the wet dry is just to, you know, have the wet and the dry. So you take that down, dry signal, turn it up, wet signal, turn the dry down. You just get the wet signal. It's pretty intuitive. I mean, there is things that you have to learn, of course, like as far as like the mapping, uh, the input and output mapping with the controls and the envelopes, in order to control like the knob speed and then the slope of certain parameters and things like that. But it doesn't involve coding. Um, it can it can involve coding if you want to. There's or at least like some form of coding is when you use the Fruity formula controller. That's when it can get pretty crazy too, because you got to learn. You know, it's more math based, which is something that I want to do. It's just gonna take me a little while to learn. Like right now, I'm barely getting started with it. I've been messing around with it for a while, but today was like This is my second plugin that I made. I've made one before, and this one's way better because I've been learning a lot more. But yeah, it's great. It's great. And I plan on making more of these and making different iterations of them and putting them out for you guys. Putting them on my Gumroad or something for like, I don't know, $5 or something, you know. Even though it took me a while to make this one. It's been taking me a while and it's still not done. I still want to just keep working on it, but I'm really happy with the way that it sounds right now. I'm gonna add a reverb. And again, in order for the reverse to work, since it's using gross beat is only activated by playback. So you have to have the song playing to hear that reverse. There it is. Here's some crazy feedback. Hey, thank you. Oh, yes. Let's do some sidechain. Oh, baby. Oh, that delay is fucking great. Yeah, I haven't talked about it super in detail yet. Um, but basically, when it comes to techno and a lot of music, really, it's not every genre, but with a lot of music, um, the kick is usually the loudest element of the track, right? It's either the kick and the snare if you're doing like drum and bass, or the kick and the clap if you're doing techno, or the kick and the 808 if you're doing like hip hop, or kick and the snare if you're doing hip hop. So usually the loudest element in a track is the kick. And so, for example, when you work on your track, usually you set the kick and then you work around the kick, right? When you're making techno or when you're making music, the kick is going and you're making music, and without realizing it, you're mixing around the volume of the kick, right? Because you want to balance the kick and the bass, you want to balance the all the other sounds around the kick. Um, and so what I realized and started doing is that, for example, whenever I stream, I put a limiter on my master, and I turn up the ceiling all the way up, and I put the saturation on. And what that does is it creates a new ceiling, but instead, whenever these peaks go over it, instead of compressing it, it just saturates it. And what that does is it preserves the volume and it preserves the energy without without it feeling squished, right? And so whenever I stream and I make music, for example, I'm gonna play it right now and you're gonna see that the kick is peaking because I have the gain up right here. See, like these peaks are getting clipped, but they're not getting compressed and they're not getting too distorted because even though it's clipping, it's not being pushed so hard that it's gonna sound distorted. Now, I know what you mean by like, when you add other sounds, then then it starts clipping. But the important part is you want to get those sounds as loud as possible, and then you use a clipper, like a hard clipper, to cut those peaks enough to where you're not hearing distortion, kind of like how it's doing here. Like you can't hear this distortion even though it's clipping, you can't hear it. And this is what this is doing right now is kind of soft clipping it. So you have hard clipping and you have soft clipping, right? Hard clipping usually creates more distortion. Um, but say if I push this higher and you see this right here, like this section, this is definitely going to sound distorted. But these peaks that are just shooting up, these aren't going to sound distorted. And that's what you want to do is you want to cut these peaks off of your sound so that it leaves you more headroom to turn up your music louder. So in turn, your master is going to sound louder. And so what I started doing is I started setting my kick really loud enough to where like it's being clipped but not distorted. And then I start mixing all my other sounds based on that. And I push all the other sounds really hard. And then I clip those individually. And then I just use a fader to bring it back down. And then, of course, you have to use sidechain so that the sounds aren't clashing and, creating distortion or creating clipping. No, no, no. Soft distortion, soft clipping. Let me show you here in the compressor on the limiter. Soft clipping, because all that, like, basically, all that hard clipping and soft clipping is just really hardcore compression. So, say for example, if I turn the threshold down like this and I turn the ratio on, it's gonna be compressing right here. It's compressing my voice, right? It's compressing, compressing. This is compression. Now, if I turn the ratio all the way up and I turn my knee all the way up, now it's it's like hard clipping because the knee is just flat. It's just straight. The knee is this blue line right here that you see right here. Let me expand this and move it. Yeah, because you guys can't see it. Let me see here. All right, that works. Let me shrink my face, bro. All right, so what this is doing, this is with like a super high ratio and a super like straight knee, which is this right here. You can see this slope. It's just flat. It just goes up and it's flat. And what that's doing is clipping it really hard. Clipping, clipping. It's still doing compression because this is the compressor side. But if I were to put it on the limiter side, it just does like clipping. But if I lower the knee, then it's doing soft clipping because it like curves it a little more. Now, Sorry about that. Damn, that was terrible. I accidentally did expansion, I think, rather than compression. For example, if I turn this ceiling down and I turn the saturation off, this is clipping right here. It's just completely cutting it, like just flat, like you're just slicing it. Slice. You're just slicing it, you know? And based on these parameters, like this is still doing a little bit of compression, but if I just turn these down, then you can really hear the distortion, you know? Like this is just clipping it really hard. But what this is doing is this is creating a knee almost, you know? Like it's creating a softer curve. And that's why this is a limiter, right? You're limiting the sound. There's no like compression going on here. It's just cutting it at whatever the ceiling is. But the saturation, when you turn it on, it starts at 0 decibels. When you turn it on, it's clipping it, but it's doing it in a softer way. And there's different plugins. I like to use G-Clip. I'm just gonna give you a real example. I don't want to talk about this yet, just because it's so complicated, and I need to like figure out how to explain it, like in the right way. But basically, you have the kick, right, as loud as possible. I'm not doing that in this video, but usually what I do is I turn this kick up and I throw in, let me turn this down. I'm gonna just show you. Test. Okay. Without my limiter on there, this is what it sounds like, right? The kick is at like -9 decibels. You want that kick to be at 0. You want it to start at 0 decibels. So what I do is I use this plugin called DP meter, and I put the reference to 0 decibels. So you play it, it's at 9, or it's at -8. What I do is I click this little letter right here, match loudness, and it puts it at 0. So right now the kick is as loud as it can get, right? It's at 0 decibels. And then what I do is I use G-Clip. G-Clip, which is a hard clipper. And I push the gain up. You see this slope right here? This is what I'm talking about. This is hard clipping. And then you can turn this up and it curves it so it makes it soft clipping. So what I would do is I turn this kick up enough to where you see these peaks right here. I just cut it. Once it starts distorting, then I turn it back down. Like that's distorting. That's good. And that already gave it 1 decibel higher. But it's not going above 0. It's just clipping the very top peak without like, once you hear distortion, just turn it back down. And basically what you're doing is you want to get the kick as loud as possible, because once you set that kick, that's your anchor, and that's as loud as the track's gonna get, you know? And then you do that for every single sound that you're using. But when you start the kick, you're gonna leave it like this. You're gonna leave it fully clipped, because that's what you're gonna be mixing around. And then, for example, the other sounds that you're using, you want to add that DP meter. And you're going to start hearing, artifacts. So you're going to have to, do some EQing and stuff like that. And then you throw in the clipper and you turn it up to where you're hearing distortion. Then you turn it back down to where you're not hearing distortion, but you're cutting off some of those peaks. Like these peaks. For drums, you can do hard clipping, but I would say for more melodic elements, you want to do soft clipping because you don't want it to be too intense of a cut because it's a melodic element. So you do that, right? You get it as loud as you can without getting it distorted. And then once you do, then you use this fader. You use a fader and, of course, some sidechain to mix it in around the kick. And you do that for every single sound. So what that's doing is it's you're cutting off all the peaks. Yeah. Every single sound. You do it for every single sound because you're getting each sound to get the loudest possible that you can. And then you just use the faders to mix it at level with the kick. Um, what I've been doing is I've been leaving this for the very end, so I'll work on music the normal way that I do it without doing that. And I just get the idea out, if I get sounds that I like, all that stuff. And then once I'm happy with that and I want to and I have it all arranged and I have all that stuff, then at the end when I'm mixing, I do that to every single sound. Nowadays, I started doing it just from the beginning, just because it makes it easier for me. It is more of once you get used to the process, it's not that hard. But um, I started doing that from the beginning. So I'll do that to the kick and then I add more elements and I do that to all the elements. The kick and the clap, you usually want to leave at the peak, right? And everything else you want to mix around it because those are your anchor points, the kick and the clap or the snare. But basically what this does is it's leaving you more headroom for the master, you know? So you're cutting, you're making each sound super loud, and you're clipping it. You're clipping those peaks, so then the sound is already loud and compressed or less dynamic. And so when it all sums up, you want to create buses, like hat buses or like melody buses, and then you have to do that also to the buses. And you're slowly just clipping away. And so by the time you get to the masters, sometimes you don't even have to master the song because it's already loud. Like it's already super loud because you already did all the work in the mixing. You know what I mean? It's a really crazy concept. I know. You guys can look it up. I didn't come up with this. I have my own way of doing it, but I didn't come up with this process. But it is something that I realized, and I was like, there has to be something like this that I can do. And then that's how I came across this thing, and it's called clip to zero. Clip to zero. So just go on YouTube. There's this guy, or honestly, I think it's a trans person, so it's a woman, or they go by she or something. But they're the ones that came up with this process. It's called Clip to Zero. Their name is Baphometrics. They do more of like drum and bass stuff, but it's a really interesting concept, and it's something that I had thought of already before. Um, Especially because, like I say, when I stream, I'm used to just working loud because I turn things up. But yeah, it's called Clip to Zero. And it's a little hard to understand at first, but then once you get the hang of it, like you realize how incredibly powerful it is. You do lose dynamics, but that's kind of the point, like when you master music, the point of the mastering stage is that they're lowering the dynamic range in order to turn the volume up. You know what I mean? Like you can't have a song that's too dynamic because it's not going to be as loud as like songs that you hear on the radio or on streaming services. So the key element to this technique is that you have to be very subtle and you have to start at the source, Like most people, they make their music and then they export it and then they master it. And then, so by the time it's on the master, there's all these crazy peaks, and all these peaks are creating less headroom. So when you push the limiter on the master to get it louder, you get distortion a lot quicker because there's so many peaks that go really high. So the point of this process is that you have to clip all of those little peaks, not you don't have to go super hard towards distorting. You just want it to like be subtle so that when it all sums up in the end, there's not as many of those super crazy peaks. So then you can push the limiter more, so then your track will sound louder. Yeah, for melodic elements, you want to do soft clipping, and for the drums, you can do hard clipping, especially for the kick and the clap. But it's up to you. It's up to taste. It's whatever you hear, whatever whatever sounds good to you. But the point is, you have to chop those peaks. That's the point of mixing and mastering music, is you have to get that dynamic range. You can have a really dynamic song if you want. Again, it's up to taste. You can have a really dynamic song, but then you're not going to have it as loud as some of these other songs that you're hearing, especially when it comes to techno. When it comes to techno music, you want your music to sound loud, you know? And then the loudness comes from the LUFS, right? The LUFS meter, the loudness meter. And usually, if you do this process, you can get your music to be as loud as like -7, -8 LUFS, which is really considered really loud and crisp. And then if you're uploading to like a streaming platform or something, you want to make sure, like usually Spotify asks you for like -14 LUFS, but you can have -5, -6, -7 LUFS, which is really loud. As long as your true peak is -1, then you'll be fine. So you got to make sure your true peak is at -1, and then you can upload to Spotify and all that stuff, and they won't distort or compress your music. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. I would just say just look up into that person that I told you, Bathymetrics, on YouTube. The technique is called clip to zero. It's really useful. Um, I'm still learning it too, but there was elements that I was already doing, but the way that they explained it was like pretty clear. Oh yeah, if you're playing music live, this is a great technique for that. It is. And then it's nice too because once you turn up your music, like for example, like the pad, like once you turn up all your sounds really loud and you're like clipping those peaks, you can hear things that you didn't hear when it was lower, you know? So then you can mix those sounds a lot better. Like you can EQ those sounds better, you can compress those sounds better, and you do those things before you do the clipping. So do the clipping, make sure it's at 0 decibels, and then before, adjust the sound, see how it sounds when it's really loud, and then readjust the meter, and then readjust the clipping. Because if you notice, like sometimes we'll work low in volume, and you're like, oh, this sounds great, but then when you get to the mastering stage and you turn all of that up, it doesn't sound the same, and you're like, well, what happened? Like my mix sounded so good, and it sounded really good at the volume that I had it. Like, why does it sound so shitty when I master it or when I turn it up? And that's because since you started low, when those sounds get turned up, there's a bottom layer that comes up, that you aren't aware of because you were mixing at a low volume. So then, all those things have to be fixed, and it kind of sucks. So when you start in this way first, before when you're working on your music, it prevents all that from happening. Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like sometimes for me, I'll just make the song, and then I'll EQ and do some stuff to each sound, but it's very minimal. And then towards the end, once I have it all arranged and I'm happy with the way it sounds, then I start the mixing stage, which is when I go in there and I start doing all of that. So I'll turn everything off and I start with the kick and then the clap and then I do the hats and then once I have all that, I do buses. So I'll put all the hats into a bus and then I'll clip that and then I'll put the percussion into a bus and then I'll clip that and then I'll sum all that into a drum bus and then on the drum bus I'll clip a little bit of those peaks and then I go into the melodic elements and everything's just like I'm slowly mixing everything together and leveling and balancing everything together. But yeah, that's the process that I've been doing and it's been really great. I think it works really well and I'm slowly understanding how to do it better. And there's other plugins that you can get that will help you with that. The ones that I have are the free ones, like G Clip and then the meter, the DP meter, whatever it was. But yeah, if you look into Bafflemetrics on YouTube, Clip to Zero, they explain it a lot better than I do. That's for sure. I'm gonna make a video on it eventually. I want to make my own video on it eventually. I want to have a whole project that's already, in that form with all those things on it. That way I can better explain it. Thank you, Juan. I just saw your comment. What's up, Robert? Yeah. I'm gonna definitely put that out. I'm like I said, I didn't want to talk about it because it is a really complicated subject and it can get pretty confusing and I'm not really the best at explaining it, especially when I'm just learning something. So I didn't want to like confuse you guys or talk about things when I'm not super like sure of the things that I'm doing. But it's a process that I've been working out. I'm trying to figure it out. I'm trying to do my own thing with it and see how it works for me. And once I have it down, then I'll be able to explain and translate over to you guys how I do it. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad you understood. Hopefully, you can pick up on it and use it. It's a really useful technique, especially for more electronic music like techno or drum and bass, just because those genres are really loud. Like when you listen to professional sounding music, like you're just like, how do these people get such clear, loud tracks? But that's kind of the secret right there. It's like you have to start in the mixing stage with the clipping those peaks, you know, little by little. It's just like little by little, it all sums up. Because when those individual sounds sum up together, those frequencies merge. And when those frequencies merge, it creates those peaks. Or when sounds merge, it creates those peaks. So you have to make sure to be trimming those individually and then you sum them up in buses and then you trim them individually and then you sum them up into the master. And then in the master, by the time they get to the master, it's already a pretty like solid uh like waveform basically. So it makes it a lot easier for the master limiter to push the song louder, or at least to just, it's already going to be really loud, but you can get a little squeeze in a little more loudness from it. Yeah. But never heard it before, and I noticed directly in your last video. Yeah. I didn't. I didn't want to talk about it just because I knew people were gonna ask, and I just feel bad putting out that information and then not following up with like answers. So that's the reason I didn't really want to mention it, but it's okay. There's a lot of information out there, especially from that bathymetrics person. So as long as you go and look at those videos, they're really long. It's a lot of long videos. There's a whole playlist that they have of um, that technique. But once you watch them and you start understanding what they're talking about, then you're just like, okay, I get it. course, you're welcome. Do you sell your patcher presets, by the way, or is it free, or do you keep it by yourself? I do. I am gonna put this one up on my Gumroad. This delay one that I made. I'll probably put it for like $5. I think I'm gonna bring down the price of all the things that I have on there. I have a drum pack. I have my vital presets that I've made, and I want to start putting some of these patches that I've made out as well. I'll probably just put them for $5, all of them, honestly, like each. Um, just so that it makes it more affordable for you guys, and it also helps me out, of course. Um, but yeah, I do plan on putting these out. I still want to work on this a little bit more, but I think I'm gonna put it up after I get done with this video, and I'll put the link in the description. Or actually, I don't know if I'm gonna save this to my channel. Because I wanna make like a dedicated video just showing what this plugin does. I mean, I kind of did in this video, but then I kind of went off talking about the clip to zero stuff. But nah, I'll leave this video up. I'll leave this video up. There's already a link in the description of the video to my Gumroad, so you can go there. And then there's a section on top where you can put in your email and hit subscribe, and you'll subscribe to my Gumroad. That way, whenever I put anything on there, I can send you an email and be like, "Hey guys, I just put this out," and then you'll get a notification and you can check it out. But once I end this stream, I will put this up on Gumroad, and then I'll put a link in my description so you guys can go and get it if you'd like. The way that you put it in here, though, because you can put it in Patcher, right? Like you have it in Patcher, and then you go to presets, and it's right there. But I ended up putting it in my plugin database, so now it's just right here. Like I can just click it, and it'll pop up. Because if you put it in Patcher, it's gonna like it turns your music off. Like if you're playing something, and if you put Patcher, you have to do all the routing and stuff, or you have to click the preset in order to hear the sound again. So what I did is I just put it in my plugin database, and I'll write in the description of the plugin when I upload it to Gumroad where that folder is, so that you can just pretty much download this, and then you just drag it in there, and it'll pop up here, and that way you can just select it and use it. It only uses stock plugins, so it'll work for anybody as long as you have FL Studio. As long as you have Grow Speed and Frequency Shifter, which you should. These are all plugins that come free with FL Studio. Thank you. Yeah, I really like the way it came out. I'm gonna keep updating it too. So if you do buy this plugin, from me. Uh, when you buy it, it gives me your email. It tells me your email. So once I do upload, like, once I update this and I add to it or something, or change some things, I can also send you guys, like, to that email that you bought it from. I can send you an updated, like, version so you can update it, or just have a different version of it too. Um, but yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited. I really enjoyed making this. Uh, I feel like I could have done a little better with the design, but again, I'm just getting started with this stuff. But it was really fun to make. Damn, that was loud. Let me see what you're saying. So much gems in 30 minutes. So weird that so much people have 10,000 followers and dropping zero information, or it's just the basic stuff. Yeah. Definitely look into clip to zero. It's a really incredible technique, and it feels like a lot of producers or a lot of people kind of keep that a secret, or it's like, yeah, like they're just like gatekeeping it. But nah. As soon as I found out about it, I was like, man, I can't wait to make videos on this and like help out my people. But again, I'm trying to get it down to like trying to break it all down myself so that I can explain to you guys in like a really structured video. But again, all thanks to well, actually it started with TikTok. I saw one TikTok video where they kind of mentioned something about it, and then in the comments like somebody said like, "Oh, check out bathymetrics on YouTube." And then I went on YouTube and I started binge watching a bunch of the videos, and I was like, "Man, this is exactly what I've been looking for." So, yeah. Dun, dun, dun. Hey, what's up? easy. Without it and with it. Woo. And if I add the feedback in there, bro. Yes. And then I can take the dry off and just play the delay time. And that creates really nice atmospheres. Delay. Man, I'm loving this delay, bro. I am loving this delay. I'm really happy with the way it's coming out. Again, all these, the timing on the left and the right, it's all snapped to certain times. So there's no in-between times. There's 1/16, 1/16 dotted, 1/8, 1/8 dotted, 1/4, 1/4 dotted, and then 1/2, and then half dotted. And that's all the timings that this fader does. So if you're at the very bottom, that's 1/16. If you're at the very top, that's that's half dotted, I believe. And then everything in between is all the other timings. I want to create little like notes that say it there. That way you can see like which one you're on. But if you want to check which one you're on, you can always go into the map here. Like the left, this is the left delay, this is the right delay, right? So this one's on the left side. So you can do is you can go to the map, and everything that's up here is the left, and everything that's down here is the right. So right here, left delay, you can click on it, and it'll tell you which time you're on. This one's on 2. Right here it says time 2. And then this one will tell you this one's, I think this is half or half dotted. No, I think it's half. But yeah, this is the right. And yeah, this is my plugin, guys. This is my delay plugin. Again, if you want it to reverse, like if you have the reverse on, you have to have the song playing, or you have to have the pattern playing. Something has to be on play in order for the growth speed to kick in. That's the only thing that's like, that kind of sucks, but there's no way for me to go around it, honestly. It's just the way it is. turn the dry off just to hear that delay. And that makes some really nice melodic techno like accents. I have this linked to a reverb, so it sounds super huge. This is without the reverb. I want to implement a reverb option in here too. This is just kind of what I have right now, but I do want to implement like another section, maybe down here on the bottom. I'll extend it. You know, I can extend it maybe like this and add like another little section down here with reverb and different parameters for the reverb, you know, like the size and the decay time, the low cut, high cut, all that type of stuff. It's just going to take me a little bit, you know, and I just got to find the time for it. But that's another thing that I want to do with this plugin is add some reverb, some integrated reverb in there. And then of course, like, I don't know, there's so many possibilities, man. Like my brain is just like, I have so many ideas for creating like a really crazy cool plugin, or plugins, because I want to make more for different uses. I really want to build one for real minimal techno, maybe something that like creates textures, you know, like so that you can create textures like that real minimal style, like textures. I think that would be really cool. Um, I can even maybe create some type of like sidechain plugin too. That way, like if you don't have like Shaperbox or Kickstart or something, I can make one that's just like what do you call it? Just like stock patch a sidechain plugin or something. I don't know. I have a lot of ideas. It's just about like trying to wrap my head around like the map, you know, and trying to see how I can map everything out and what I can connect to what and stuff like that. But yeah, big things coming, boys. Big things coming. What I'm gonna do right now is I'm gonna get off and I'm gonna put this up on my Gumroad page. Oh, I need to turn this thing off. Put this up on my Gumroad page. If you guys want to buy it, it'll be available. And like I said, once I update it and add stuff to it, then, you know, if you bought it, it gives me your email. So I'll just shoot you an email and be like, hey, I updated this plugin. Here's the new version. And then you can just download it and update it, you know. And you can add like a second version. Like you can have this one and then you can get the updated one separately. That way you can have, you know, if you don't like the new updated one, then you can still have this one, you know. But yes, I'm excited. This is great. I really like this plugin. I made it for myself, you know, because I was just like, I had a sound in mind that I was trying to get, and I was like, man, all these plugins, all these delay plugins that I have, like, you know, I have a delay plugin that has reverse on it, but it doesn't have reverse for each channel. It has reverse for the whole thing, right? So you can reverse the whole delay as a one. And I was like, I want to be able to control which, like, a specific side can have reverse, you know, either the left or the right. So that's why, like, I implemented like this knob, which is like reverse for the left or the right side, and then also the volume for the left and the right side, which are these right here, and then frequency shift for the left and the right side, the feedback for the left and the right, and then timing for left and right. So this completely just separates the signal. And then of course you have the dry. So if you turn this down, this is kind of like the bus. It's kind of like a delay bus. And so you can turn this up and you can slowly mix in, you know, the right amount of the effect that you want, or you can have it fully on. Same thing with the dry. If you don't want the dry signal, you only want the effect, then you can do that too. It's a very versatile plugin. And yeah, that's all I gotta say for now. I want to make a video strictly on this and just kind of showing you guys how it works and stuff. But this is kind of just the first little sneak peek that I want to give you guys. And again, I'm gonna put it out on my Gumroad right now. I'm gonna put it pretty cheap. I don't know. I'm gonna do $5. It's because Gumroad takes like 10%. So I gotta kind of price it, not undersell myself, but kind of price it right so that I can at least profit a little bit. For the time put into it and the fees that the website takes whenever I sell something. But yeah, I'm gonna do that right now. I'm gonna get off. It's hot. I need to turn my AC. I turned it off because you always can hear the in the microphone. So yeah, I turn my AC because it's hot, bro, and I get some sleep. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that right now. Once I end the stream, look out for again, you can go to the description. There's already a link to the Gumroad. You can go and check it out. I have a Vital preset pack on there with a bunch of presets that I've made in Vital. And then I have a little drum pack, which is this drum pack that's right here. This one, Eterno Drums, which has a couple of sounds. Oh no, not this one. Eterno Drum Pack. It has some claps, some effects, some hats, kicks. It has the famous perfect kick, which I'm always using in my streams. Some percussive stuff, shakers, some random sounds, and then some little vocal things I've recorded. It's not a crazy pack. It's just my first one that I made, and I kind of want to put it out for you guys in case anybody wanted to get it. But yeah, that's it. I'll catch y'all soon. I'm gonna save this real quick. Save as. I'll call this Dimension 323 plugin techno. Save. Awesome. One last little peek at it. then you can automate these things. I have them all active, so you can create automation clips directly from here into the playlist. Woo! Okay. All right, save, and I'll catch y'all in the next stream. Peace. Peace, peace, peace.